Ladies and gents, Happy New Year. This is Genvièv and you are on Genvièv TV, your channel for forensic and clinical education. And with this new year, we are starting strong since I decided to begin sharing with you both my clinical and criminal case files. Today, we'll start with a groundbreaking case my team and I handled a few years ago in which forensic regression proved to be effective in facilitating memory recovery following substance-induced amnesia in a drug-facilitated sexual assault. It was November 2016, a 5'5", 100-pound woman in her 30s was invited for dinner to the home of a man she had recently resumed seeing. She had met the unemployed 50-year-old the previous summer. Her lack of interest initially was met by his whirlwind attempts to win her over. It ended abruptly when she accepted to meet him at his residence and found herself brutally pinned down, both wrists trapped in one of his hands, while he attempted to assault her. She fled the scene and interrupted all contact with him. Months later, however, the 50-year-old resumed his romantic attempts to win her over, claiming that what had happened over the summer was nothing more than a misunderstanding and ensuring he never meant to harm her. For months, he worked relentlessly at regaining her trust. Eventually moved by the over-the-top courtship, she accepted his invitation to join him for dinner to discuss. When she arrived at his residence, a fire was burning in the living room. He invited her to sit by the fireplace, retreated to the kitchen, and returned with a small cup of warm sake he suggested would warm her up since the weather was stormy and cold. When she brought the cup to her lips, the vapors emanating from it seemed strong and unpleasant. So she simply dipped her lips in the cup and put it down without drinking. He then retreated to the kitchen and once again returned, this time with a glass of sparkling Italian wine. She began sipping the beverage as he stood watching her. Within 15 minutes, she had lost all muscle functions and motor coordination, along with the ability to think coherently. She later described feeling as if she had somehow left her body and suddenly found herself in some sort of dissociated, dreamlike state. Confused and drowsy, she looked up at him and asked, "What did you put in my glass? I can't feel my body." Towering over her from his 6'5" height, he snaps back, "Nothing, just Lambrusco." She tried to stand, but found herself stumbling, disoriented and dizzy. This was shortly after 4 p.m. What happened next disappeared entirely from her memory. She was left with complete amnesia for the following 8 hours. Her memories resume only after midnight, when she found herself naked and alone on her knees on a bathroom floor, violently vomiting over a toilet. Freezing cold, shaken, dizzy, and ill, she continued vomiting for hours as her body desperately attempted to expel the ingested substances. Around 2 a.m., when she was finally able to stand, she walked out of the bathroom and made her way through the adjoining bedroom, cold and shaken, with no comprehension or recollection of what had happened to her. She searched for her clothes. She found them on the ground, kicked in a discarded lump in a corner of the room. She dressed silently and fled the scene. When she awoke the next day, she discovered her body was covered with bruises. Large, red, black, and blue contusions mark her breast, arms, legs, and gluteus. Without any memory of the 8-hour period of time that extended between the downstairs fireplace and the upstairs bathroom, she struggled to make sense of what had happened. It's easy for us on the outside to make immediate assumptions and logical deduction as to the sequence of events that would lead someone to find themselves in a situation that she was when she regained consciousness. However, when you are the victim, when you are the person whose memories have been deleted, dissolved from your mind, let me tell you, it is a completely different situation. The medical, police, and forensic teams that responded to her in the following days, examining her, taking photos of the bruising, and documenting the fact, were adamant. The partial consumption of a glass of wine is not likely to produce symptoms of this severity within 15 minutes of sipping it. Even in cases of alcohol intoxication, the reasonable questions that follows is this: who would disrobe and have sex for the first time with a partner whose judgment is impaired and who might even be unconscious? The combination of the complete amnesia for the 8-hour block of time and the total anesthesia from all physical sensations that she recollected through the course of the forensic regression indicates a likely benzodiazepine poisoning. This is a medical emergency that could have proven lethal for a 100-pound woman without any prior and previous exposure to synthetic drugs and sedatives. Amnesia is a common side effect of date rape drugs. Benzodiazepines, whether they are legal, like Xanax, Clonopin, or Valium, along with a long list of anti-anxiety, muscle relaxant, and antipsychotic medications designed to manage psychosis, bipolar, borderline symptoms, as well as mental and emotional imbalances. Anesthetics like ketamine that is used in veterinary medicine, and underground drugs like GHB, Rohypnol, which are no longer legal in the United States, can all cause drowsiness, confusion, loss of motor coordination, dizziness, numbness, nausea, seizures, vomiting, even leading up to coma and death. GHB, Rohypnol, and ketamine are no longer the only drugs used to spike the drinks of unsuspected victims. Legal benzodiazepines like Xanax and Clonopin are also used to facilitate crimes. During our forensic regression, we brought the woman back in time to her last conscious memory, sitting by the fire, beginning to sip the glass of wine, to prevent the possibility of tainting, leading, or influencing her recollection in any manner. She was left to process the unfolding of events without any input or interference from our team. From the safety of the deep physical, mental, and emotional relaxation we induced during a regression, and surrounded by the protective presence of the team, the memories contained within the depth of her mind began to surface gently, easily, and effortlessly. In her case, they emerged as flashbacks, images, sounds, positions, recollections, like movie scenes of that night, replaying in the movie theater of her mind. Ideal motor responses were established, allowing her to indicate with small subconscious finger movements when the replay had begun, to confirm it was continuing to unfold, and signal when she had reached a point of reconnection back to consciousness. Among the memories we recovered that day were his voice and posture as he stood towering over her in front of the fireplace, asking her, "Would you like to go upstairs?" Her clear, unmistakable response, "I wouldn't be able to stand." The sense of shock and alarm in her voice as she asked a question she had never had to ask before. "What did you put in my glass? I cannot feel my body." The vision of his open closet from the upstairs bed where she found herself laying on her back, staring at the rigid, strict, and clinical color-coordinated alignment of his clothing, exclusively in shades of black and gray. finding herself naked, pinned down under his body while she repeated, "I'm scared, I'm scared." The sound of his voice snapping back, "Don't worry, I'm not going to take you until you've relaxed some more." Her own voice pleading, "I'm not on the pill." His response, "I have condoms. The last thing I want is an unplanned pregnancy." What was never recovered was any awareness whatsoever of physical sensations during that 8-hour time frame. And this tells us that the ingested substances did, in fact, produce a complete state of physical anesthesia. Among the other missing blocks of memory was the absence of recollection as to how her clothing was removed from her body. And this was disturbing to her, considering she was wearing multiple layers. A snug winter dress with a full-length zipper in the back that came all the way up to the nape of her neck. Stockings, thick knee-high winter socks, heavy boots. The missing parts lead us to suspect that she's likely slipped in and out of consciousness. This is also hinted by the fact that she remembers nothing further until she was startled by his loud scream in her ear as he came. The loud and painful sound right against her ear jolted her back to consciousness. She became aware only then, in her dissociated dreamlike state, that he was inside of her. And yet again, there were no physical sensations. Her body remained entirely numb through the course of the complete block of time. The state of confusion, distress ignited by amnesia is difficult to understand without having experienced it. The mind spins in endless loops, continuously trying and attempting to recover the missing memories. It's challenging for the mind, for our mind, to comprehend how a large block of life can somehow disappear entirely from conscious awareness. The depth of relief provided by memory revivification is immensely therapeutic. It allows us to begin recovering from the debilitating hold left behind by traumatic events. This case provided groundbreaking research for our team. It is often assumed and even taught that forensic regression is not likely to produce results in cases of substance abuse in amnesia. Yet, we consistently obtain results, clinically regressing patients in time to experiences they've had while in surgery. And we know that in that frame, they were under general anesthesia. Memory sometimes confirmed by those present at the time. So if part of the mind remains aware in a controlled state of unconsciousness, like general anesthesia, we should expect memory recovery to be possible in other types of drug-induced amnesia. Close to 75% of rapists and sexual offenders are friends, family members, or partners of the victim. Most acts are premeditated and occur behind closed doors. They are solely an attempt from the perpetrator at regaining control. Perpetrators or perps are trained manipulators. They convince themselves and others that they are never at fault for their actions. Drug-facilitated sexual assault, also known as DFSA, is a criminal act. It is punishable by up to 20 years of imprisonment and fines for intent to commit a crime of violence by distributing controlled substances to another without their knowledge. According to Senior Special Agent John Kilnap of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, forensic hypnosis may well be the only way to recover details of traumatic events crime victims or witnesses have blocked out of their mind. When conducted properly, forensic regression can be an important element in the preparation and outcome of a trial. My name is Genvièv Sinclair. I am a board-certified forensic and clinical hypnosis instructor. with decades of experience resolving complex cases previously resistant to treatment, cold cases, and criminal investigations. If you or someone you know believe you may have witnessed a crime or been preyed upon, if your recollection is not as accurate as you would like it to be, contact me to schedule a consultation. My information is in the description box below the screen right here. Forensic regression may be extremely beneficial in helping you recover the facts, along with your truth, your strength, your serenity, and peace of mind. And to the perps out there, beware. We are on to you. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, and I will see you in my next video covering clinical and criminal case files. Happy New Year.